Captain Minho Kim stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, watching Earth spin slowly in the darkness. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but the red warning lights flashing across his command console told a different story. "Sir, we're getting strange readings from the outer system," reported Lieutenant Hyejin Yoon, her fingers dancing across the sensor controls. Multiple large objects moving toward Earth at high speed. Minho walked over to her station and studied the data. 7 massive ships, each the size of a small city, were approaching from the direction of Jupiter. Their design was unlike anything in Earth's databases. Sharp angles, dark metal, and energy readings that made no sense according to human physics. "Send a message to Earth Command," Minho ordered. "Tell them we have visitors." 3 hours later, the alien fleet stopped just outside Earth's orbit. They made no attempt to communicate. Instead, they simply waited, as if studying the planet like scientists examining a new specimen. Dr. Yuna Park was in her underground laboratory beneath Seoul when the first contact attempt came. The aliens broadcast on every frequency at once, drowning out radio, television, and internet signals across the globe. Their message was simple and delivered in broken English with what sounded like amusement. "Small blue world people. You are now property of Veltharian Empire. We claim your planet for Great Emperor Zelthrax. Your weapons are very adorable. Your resistance is very cute. You have 2 days to surrender all military forces. Do not make this difficult for adorable humans." The transmission cut off, leaving the world in stunned silence. General Taehyung Lee was in the Pentagon War Room when the second message arrived an hour later. This time, the aliens provided a demonstration. They showed holographic images of their previous conquests, dozens of worlds all reduced to burning ruins before surrendering. "We have destroyed many worlds," the alien voice continued, still with that mocking tone. "Your cute little nuclear weapons cannot harm our ships. Your adorable chemical rockets move like sleeping children. Surrender now and we will let most of you live as workers." Admiral Korvac of the Veltharian fleet smiled as he watched the human world from his command ship. The planet's electromagnetic activity showed panic spreading across its surface. Radio chatter increased dramatically as their primitive militaries scrambled to respond. "How long shall we give them to consider, Admiral?" asked his second-in-command, a tall creature with 4 arms and glowing eyes. "The standard 48 hours, Korvac replied, examining the tactical display. "Though I suspect these humans will surrender much sooner. Look at their pathetic orbital defenses, a few mining lasers and some metal tubes they call missiles. Truly adorable." The Veltharian Empire had conquered 43 worlds in the past century. Each time the pattern was the same. Show overwhelming force, demonstrate superior technology, and watch as the local species begged for mercy. Humans would be no different. Back on Luna Base, Minho Kim gathered his senior officers around the tactical table. Captain Soyeon Choi had just returned from a reconnaissance flight, her stealth fighter loaded with sensor data about the alien vessels. "They're big, but not as advanced as they think," she reported, pulling up 3D models of the enemy ships. "Their hulls are thick but made of conventional materials. Their weapons appear to be plasma-based, probably effective, but nothing we haven't theorized about." "What about their shields?" asked Lieutenant Commander Woojin Park, the base's weapons specialist. "Standard energy barriers," Soyeon replied. "They deflect high-energy attacks and physical projectiles. Pretty much what our scientists predicted alien defenses would look like." Minho nodded thoughtfully. "They're following the textbook, everything by the rules of conventional physics." He paused, looking at his officers. "Which means they've never faced anything unconventional." In her Seoul laboratory, Dr. Yuna Park was having the same thoughts. She stood before a massive machine that looked like something from a science fiction movie. Cables and pipes connected dozens of quantum processors, each one capable of calculations that would have been impossible just 5 years ago. "Ji-won, run the simulation again," she called to engineer Ji-won Nam, who was monitoring the quantum field generators. "Results are consistent, Doctor," Ji-won replied, studying the holographic display. "The quantum disruptor can create localized space-time distortions. In theory, it should be able to bypass any conventional defense. Dr. Park had been working on quantum manipulation technology for 3 years, funded by a black budget program that most of Earth's leaders didn't even know existed. The project had started as pure research into the nature of reality itself. Now it might be humanity's only hope. "How many units can we produce in 48 hours?" she asked. "Maybe 3 or 4 prototypes," Jiwon answered. "The quantum cores take 8 hours each to calibrate, and we only have 2 fabrication units. Then we'd better get started." As the deadline approached, the alien sent one final message. This time, Admiral Korvac appeared on every screen on Earth. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. When he spoke, his voice carried the tone of an adult talking to a misbehaving child. "Adorable. Humans, your time is almost finished. Our sensors show you moving your cute little military toys into position. This makes us very amused. Do you really think your primitive weapons can hurt ships that have destroyed entire star systems?" The hologram gestured, and images appeared showing Veltharian ships easily destroying the defenses of other worlds. Cities turned to glass, armies vaporized in seconds, entire populations fleeing in terror. "We have been conquering worlds since before your species learned to make fire," Korvac continued. "Your resistance is very sweet, like watching children play with toy swords. But playtime is over. Surrender now, or we will show you why 43 worlds chose not to fight us." The transmission ended, leaving Earth in darkness. On Luna Base, Minho Kim watched as Earth's military forces took their positions. It was a pathetic sight by galactic standards. A few dozen orbital defense platforms, some outdated nuclear missiles, and a handful of experimental spacecraft that had never been tested in real combat. But hidden among the conventional forces were 3 ships that looked almost identical to standard Earth fighters. Only a few people knew what made them different. Dr. Park's quantum cores had been installed in secret, along with weapons systems that existed more in theoretical physics than in any military manual. "Sir, the aliens are moving into attack position," reported Heejin Yoon. Minho activated the base's communication system, sending a coded message to the hidden quantum fighters. "Phoenix Squadron, this is Luna Base. You are cleared for Operation Broken Physics. Show them what adorable really means." Admiral Korvac watched with satisfaction as his ships moved into bombardment formation. The humans had positioned their forces exactly as expected, in a defensive sphere around their homeworld. It was a classic mistake that every species made during their first encounter with superior technology. "Begin the demonstration," he ordered. "Target their largest cities. Make it spectacular but not too destructive. We want them frightened, not extinct." The first plasma beams lanced down toward Earth's surface. They struck Seoul, New York, and Moscow simultaneously, creating massive explosions that could be seen from space. The aliens had calculated the blasts perfectly, enough to destroy several city blocks and kill thousands, but not enough to render the cities uninhabitable. "Broadcast surrender terms," Korvac commanded. "Tell them this is just a tiny sample of our power." But as the alien admiral watched the burning cities on his tactical display, something unexpected happened. 3 small ships detached from Earth's defensive formation and began moving toward his fleet. They weren't fleeing or taking defensive positions. They were attacking. Korvac laughed out loud. "Are they serious? 3 tiny fighters against 7 battleships?" He turned to his weapons officer. "Destroy them quickly. This display of bravery is amusing but pointless." The Veltharian ships opened fire, sending dozens of plasma bolts toward the approaching human fighters. But something impossible happened. The human ships simply vanished, reappearing seconds later in completely different positions. The plasma beams struck empty space. "What just happened?" Korvac demanded. His tactical officer studied the sensor readings with growing confusion. "Sir, the human ships appear to be moving through folded space-time. Our targeting computers can't lock onto them." For the first time since arriving at Earth, Admiral Korvac felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. Uncertainty. These humans were supposed to be primitive. Their technology was supposed to be adorable. So why were his sensors detecting energy signatures that defied everything he knew about physics. One of the human fighters had disappeared entirely from his screens, only to reappear directly beside his flagship. Before his gunners could react, it fired a single projectile and vanished again. The projectile passed through his ship's shields as if they didn't exist. It penetrated the hull without leaving a hole, and then it exploded inside the ship's reactor core. As alarms blared and his flagship began to die around him, Admiral Korvac realized he had made a terrible mistake. These humans weren't adorable at all. They were terrifying. The next battle would be against an enemy that knew exactly what humanity was capable of, and that enemy was already on its way. 3 weeks after the destruction of Admiral Korvac's fleet, the Veltharian Empire's response arrived at Earth's solar system. This time they didn't come with just 7 ships. They came with 70. Captain Soyeon Choi was on patrol near Neptune when her sensors detected the massive fleet emerging from hyperspace. The ships were different from the first wave. Sleeker, more advanced, with energy signatures that suggested significant upgrades to their weapons and shields. "Luna Base, this is Phoenix Leader," she reported, her voice steady despite what she was seeing. "We have a big problem. The aliens just brought their entire navy to our doorstep." Commander Daesung Kang received the report while his quantum destroyer was hidden in Saturn's rings. The new alien fleet was spreading out through the solar system in a coordinated search pattern, clearly looking for human ships. "They're not making the same mistake twice," he observed to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Hyejin Yoon. "This time they came prepared for a real fight." The new Veltharian fleet was commanded by Supreme Admiral Thexus, a veteran of 20 successful campaigns. Unlike the arrogant Admiral Korvac, Thexus had studied every piece of data from the first battle. Her ships carried experimental shield generators designed to deflect attacks from multiple dimensions, and her weapons had been upgraded with targeting systems that could track objects moving through folded space-time. "Humans think they can hide in their quantum shadows," she announced to her fleet commanders. "But shadows disappear when you bring enough light. We will illuminate every corner of this system until their impossible ships have nowhere to hide." On Earth, Dr. Una Park was working on humanity's next breakthrough. The quantum weapons that had given Earth its first victory were already becoming obsolete as alien technology adapted. She needed something new, something the Veltharians couldn't prepare for. "Jiwon, show me the test results from the temporal displacement experiments," she said to engineer Jiwon Nam. "Doctor, those tests were theoretical. We've never actually tried to displace matter through time. But the math works?" "The math works, but the power requirements would be enormous. We'd need to tap directly into Earth's core to generate enough energy." Dr. Park studied the equations floating in the holographic display above her desk. Time displacement weapons wouldn't just surprise the aliens. They would allow humans to attack before the enemy even knew they were under threat. "Start building it," she ordered. "And G1, make it big." The first major engagement between the new Veltharian fleet and humanity's quantum ships happened near Jupiter. Lieutenant Commander Woojin Park was leading a squadron of 5 quantum fighters when they encountered a patrol of 12 alien vessels. "This is Wraith Leader," he announced to his pilots. "Remember, they've upgraded their sensors. Our quantum drives won't make us completely invisible anymore." The human ships attacked using their standard tactics, appearing from folded space-time, striking with quantum weapons, and vanishing before the aliens could respond. But this time, the Veltharians were ready. Their new shield systems absorbed the first wave of quantum attacks, and their improved sensors managed to track the human ships even while they were phase-shifted. When the humans tried to retreat, they found alien ships waiting for them in normal space. "Wraith 3, watch your 6, Woojin shouted as plasma beams converged on one of his fighters. The pilot tried to phase-shift to safety, but the alien weapons followed the ship through multiple dimensions. The human fighter exploded in a burst of quantum energy, its death visible across several layers of reality simultaneously. "They're adapting faster than we expected," Woojin reported to command as his surviving ships retreated toward Saturn. "Our technological advantage is shrinking." Captain Min Ji-hong was having similar problems near Mars. Her quantum cruiser had been stalking alien supply ships when she found herself surrounded by a hunter-killer group specifically designed to Counter-quantum technology. Engineering, I need maximum power to the quantum drive, she ordered as plasma beams began tracking her ship through folded space. Captain, the drive is already at 110%, replied her chief engineer, Lieutenant Jaewon Ko. If we push it any harder, we risk a core breach. Minji watched as more alien ships dropped out of hyperspace around her position. The Veltharians had learned to predict where quantum ships would emerge from folded space by studying the energy patterns they left behind. All hands prepare for combat maneuvers, she announced shipwide. We're going to show these aliens that humans don't just hide in quantum shadows. Sometimes we stand and fight. Her ship dropped out of quantum phase directly in front of the largest alien vessel, weapons blazing. The surprise attack caught the Veltharians off guard, and Minji's quantum torpedoes punched through their shields before they could adapt. But the victory came at a cost. Her ship took heavy damage from return fire, and her quantum drive was operating at dangerous levels. More importantly, the aliens had recorded detailed sensor data of her attack patterns. Every battle was teaching the Veltharians more about how to fight quantum-equipped ships. On Earth, General Taehyung Lee was facing political pressure from world leaders who wanted to negotiate with the aliens. The initial success against Admiral Korvac's fleet had given way to a series of costly battles that humanity was barely winning. The aliens are learning, he explained to the emergency session of the United Nations Security Council. Every engagement teaches them more about our capabilities. We need Dr. Park's new weapon, and we need it soon. President Jaewon Ko of South Korea spoke for many world leaders when he asked, "General, are we winning this war?" "We're not losing it," General Lee replied carefully. "But the aliens have resources we can't match. If this becomes a war of attrition, they'll eventually wear us down." Dr. Park's temporal displacement weapon was taking shape in a massive underground facility beneath the Sahara Desert. The project required so much power that 3 new fusion reactors had been built just to feed it. The weapon itself was the size of a skyscraper, with temporal coils that could theoretically displace objects several minutes into the past. "The theory is sound," she explained to General Lee during his inspection visit. "We can attack the aliens before they even know we're there. But the targeting system is incredibly complex. We have to calculate not just where they are, but where they were at a specific point in time. How accurate is it? In the test simulations, about 60% accuracy at maximum range, better at closer distances." General Lee studied the massive weapon. "Doctor, 60% accuracy might not be good enough. We'll probably only get one shot with this thing before the aliens figure out what we're doing. Then we'd better make it count." The opportunity came sooner than expected. Intelligence reports indicated that Supreme Admiral Thexus was gathering her entire fleet near Jupiter for a massive assault on Earth. 70 ships would attack simultaneously, overwhelming humanity's quantum defenses through sheer numbers. "This is our chance," Dr. Park told the assembled military leadership. "If we can hit their fleet while they're concentrated, we can end this war in one strike." Commander Daesung Kang would lead the attack, commanding humanity's largest quantum ship, a retrofitted battleship that had been upgraded with Dr. Park's latest technology. His mission was to get close enough to the alien fleet for the temporal weapon to achieve maximum accuracy. "Remember," Dr. Park told him before he departed, "you'll be attacking them several minutes before they see you coming. From their perspective, their ships will simply start exploding for no reason. The psychological impact might be as important as the physical damage." Daesung's ship approached the alien fleet using a new quantum technique that Dr. Park had developed. Instead of folding space, the ship folded time, allowing it to approach the enemy along a temporal vector that made it effectively invisible. The alien fleet was arranged in perfect battle formation when Daesung activated the temporal weapon. From his perspective, he was firing at ships that were positioned exactly where they would be in 3 minutes. From the aliens' perspective, their ships began exploding in precise sequence, starting with Supreme Admiral Thexus's flagship. The psychological effect was devastating. The Veltharian fleet watched their command ship and escorts disappear in quantum fireballs, with no visible source of attack. Their sensors showed no enemy ships, no weapons fire, no explanation for the destruction consuming their fleet. "Admiral, we're under attack, but our sensors detect no hostiles." reported Thexus's tactical officer in the desperate seconds before their flagship was destroyed. Impossible, Thexus replied. But then her ship exploded around her, vaporized by weapons that had been fired before she even knew they existed. Within minutes, 30% of the Veltharian fleet had been destroyed by an attack that appeared to come from nowhere. The surviving ships scattered in panic, their formation broken and their morale shattered. But Daisung knew the victory was temporary. The temporal weapon required massive amounts of energy and precise positioning. They couldn't use it again without extensive preparation. More importantly, the aliens would eventually figure out what had happened. Once they understood temporal displacement, species that had been conquered decades ago began to whisper about rebelling Emperor Zelthrax's throne room was a monument to 1,000 years of conquest. The walls displayed the surrender documents of 43 worlds, each one a testament to Veltharian superiority. But today, those trophies felt like mockeries as the Emperor listened to reports of humanity's latest attacks. "The humans have left our solar system," reported General Korvesh, commander of the Imperial military. "Our long-range sensors show their ships appearing throughout our outer territories. They're not just defending themselves anymore, Your Majesty. They're coming for us." Strategic Commander Juhyun Bei stood on the bridge of humanity's newest flagship, the Quantum Sovereign. The massive vessel was more than a ship. It was a mobile quantum laboratory, equipped with Dr. Park's most advanced reality manipulation technology. "Operation Reverse Thunder is now active," she announced to the assembled fleet commanders via holographic communication. "Our mission is simple. Every Veltharian military installation, every occupied world, every symbol of their empire. We're going to tear it all down." The human fleet had captured detailed navigation data from the surrendered Veltharian ships, revealing the locations of hundreds of military bases and conquered worlds throughout the galaxy. More importantly, they had learned the alien empire's greatest weakness. It was held together by fear, not loyalty. Captain Woojin Park was leading the first assault on Velthara Prime, the empire's capital world. His ship approached the heavily defended system using a technique Dr. Park called reality surfing, moving through quantum layers of existence that the aliens couldn't even detect. "Remember," he told his crew as they prepared to drop back into normal space, "we're not here to conquer this world. We're here to break the myth of Veltharian invincibility." The capital world's defenses were impressive by galactic standards. Energy shields that could deflect asteroids, weapon platforms that could vaporize fleets, and a garrison of the Empire's most elite soldiers. But they had all been designed to fight conventional warfare. When Captain Park's ship materialized directly above the Imperial Palace, phasing through every defensive barrier as if they didn't exist, the effect was immediate and devastating. The Empire's citizens watched in amazement as a single human vessel hovered over the seat of galactic power, untouchable and unstoppable. "Attention citizens of the Veltharian Empire," came the broadcast from Park's ship, transmitted on every communication frequency across the planet. "Your leaders called our people adorable. They bombed our cities and murdered our children for entertainment. Today, you learn what adorable really means." Instead of destroying the palace, Park's ship projected holographic images above every major city on the planet. The holograms showed Earth's cities rebuilding themselves from the ruins of the alien bombardment. They showed human children playing in parks that had been crater fields just weeks before. They showed a species that refused to be broken. "Your empire ends today," the broadcast continued. "Not because we destroy you, but because you destroy yourselves. Every world you've conquered is watching this. Every species you've enslaved now knows you can be defeated. The age of Veltharian terror is over." Captain Park's ship vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving the capital world in stunned silence. Within hours, rebellion began on a dozen conquered worlds as subjugated species realized their oppressors were not invincible. Lieutenant Commander Minji Hong was leading a different kind of assault on the fortress world of Kelvox. The planet served as the Empire's primary military training center, where new soldiers learned to conquer and control other species. "Phoenix Wing, this is Storm Leader," she announced to her squadron of quantum fighters. "Our target is the Academy of Conquest. We're going to give those cadets a real education in warfare. The human fighters attacked the military academy using non-lethal quantum weapons designed by Dr. Park specifically for psychological warfare. Instead of destroying buildings, the weapons created temporal distortions that forced everyone inside to experience the fear and helplessness of the species the Empire had conquered. Veltharian military cadets found themselves experiencing what it felt like to watch their homeworld burn from orbit. They felt the terror of civilians fleeing from orbital bombardments. They experienced the desperation of soldiers fighting impossible odds against technologically superior enemies. "This is what your victims felt," came the message broadcast throughout the academy. "This is what you have done to 43 worlds. Feel it, remember it, and choose whether you want to be conquerors or something better." Many of the cadets dropped their weapons and fled. Others began questioning everything they had been taught about the Empire's right to rule the galaxy. The psychological impact spread beyond the academy, as recordings of the attack were shared across the planet's communication networks. Captain Soyeon Choi was conducting a very different mission in the Nexus system, where the Empire maintained its largest slave labor camps. Her ship carried a new type of quantum device, a liberation field generator that could break the control implants used to enslave conquered populations. "Beginning liberation protocol," she announced as her ship entered orbit around the prison moon of Torvex. "All slave populations, prepare for freedom." The liberation field swept across the moon's surface, disrupting the neural control devices that kept millions of beings in slavery. For the first time in decades, conquered species found themselves free to choose their own actions. The result was immediate uprising. Former slaves turned on their Veltharian guards, not with violence, but with something far more powerful: organized resistance. They seized control of communication systems and began broadcasting messages to other slave worlds, spreading the rebellion across the galaxy. Dr. Una Park was monitoring the galactic campaign from her expanded command center beneath Sol. Holographics displays showed the progress of human forces throughout Veltharian space, but more importantly, they showed the collapse of Imperial authority. "The Empire is fragmenting faster than we anticipated," she reported to General Taehyung Lee. 17 worlds have declared independence in the past 24 hours. The rebellion is spreading faster than our ships can travel. "What's the status of the Imperial fleet?" General Lee asked. "Scattered and demoralized. Many ships are refusing to engage our forces. Some are actually helping evacuate civilian populations from worlds we've targeted for liberation." The turning point came when Admiral Byung-ho Shin encountered the Imperial Guard's elite fleet at the strategically important world of Nexar. The Guard was the Empire's most fanatical military unit, composed entirely of volunteers who believed absolutely in Veltharian superiority. "This is Admiral Shin of the Earth Liberation Fleet," he broadcast to the Imperial Guard ships. "You have one opportunity to surrender before we demonstrate why your empire fell." The Guard commander, Admiral Vextar, responded with typical Imperial arrogance. "Humans are a disease that must be eliminated. The Imperial Guard does not surrender to inferior species." "Then you'll serve as an example to the galaxy," Admiral Shin replied. The battle lasted exactly 7 minutes. Human ships using multi-dimensional attack patterns overwhelmed the Imperial Guard through tactics they couldn't comprehend or counter. But instead of destroying the defeated ships, Admiral Shin used Dr. Park's newest creation, a quantum rehabilitation field. The field forced the fanatical Imperial Guards to experience the memories and emotions of every species their empire had conquered. They felt the pain of parents watching their children enslaved. They experienced the despair of entire civilizations being erased for Imperial profit. They understood, for the first time, the true cost of their empire. When the field was deactivated, most of the Imperial Guards were weeping. Many immediately defected to the human fleet, offering to help liberate the worlds they had once helped conquer. "I understand now," Admiral Vextar said in his surrender message. "We were never the superior species, we were just the cruelest." Emperor Zelthrax received the reports of Admiral Vextar's defeat and conversion while sitting in his private chambers, no longer on the throne that had represented galactic dominance for a millennium. The Empire was collapsing around him, not through conquest but through enlightenment. "Your Majesty," his aide whispered, The humans have sent a message. The hologram that appeared showed Captain Minho Kim, the officer who had witnessed Earth's bombing from Luna Base. He looked directly at the Emperor with eyes that held no hatred, only tired determination. Emperor Zelthrax, your empire is finished. Not because we destroyed it, but because we showed the galaxy what you really were. Bullies who mistook cruelty for strength. Your former subjects are free now. Your military has seen the truth of what they were fighting for. You can either step down gracefully and help rebuild what you destroyed, or you can be remembered as the tyrant who fell to species he called adorable. The message ended, leaving the Emperor alone in his crumbling palace. Outside, he could hear the sounds of celebration as the capital world's population began dismantling the monuments to imperial conquest. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was free. And it had been freed not by another empire, but by a species that fought to liberate rather than conquer, the adorable. The explosion of the Veltharian flagship lit up the night sky over Earth like a second sun. In command centers across the planet, military leaders watched their screens in disbelief. One human fighter had just destroyed a ship 20 times its size. General Tae-Hyung Lee stood in the Pentagon's Emergency Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle in real time. The remaining 6 alien ships had pulled back from Earth's orbit, clearly shocked by the loss of their flagship. "Get me Dr. Park," he ordered, never taking his eyes off the tactical display. Minutes later, Dr. Una Park's face appeared on the main screen. She was still in her underground laboratory, but now the quiet research facility buzzed with activity as dozens of technicians worked frantically on assembly lines. "Doctor, I need to know what we're dealing with here," General Lee said. "Can you make more of those quantum weapons?" "We're working as fast as we can," Dr. Park replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. "But each quantum core takes hours to calibrate. The technology is completely new. We're literally inventing it as we go." "How many ships can you outfit?" "Maybe 12 in the next 24 hours. 36 if we push the fabrication systems to their limits." General Lee nodded. "Do it. Whatever you need, you get. Money, materials, personnel, everything." On Luna Base, Captain Minho Kim was coordinating with the surviving Phoenix Squadron fighters. Only 2 had returned from their first attack run. The third had been destroyed when it materialized too close to an alien ship's reactor core. "Report, Phoenix leader," he said into his communicator. Captain Soyeon Choi's voice crackled through the speakers. "Their ships are tough, but their technology follows predictable patterns. Their shields operate on standard electromagnetic principles. Their weapons are powerful but conventional. Most importantly, they've never seen anything like our quantum drives. Explain. They can't track us when we fold space. Their computers don't know how to calculate firing solutions for targets that exist in multiple dimensions at once. We can appear anywhere, strike, and vanish before they can respond." Minho studied the tactical data from the attack. The quantum fighters hadn't just been invisible to alien sensors, they had been mathematically impossible to target. The Veltharians were fighting an enemy that broke the rules of warfare they had known for centuries. "What's our casualty assessment on the surface?" he asked Lieutenant Haejin Yoon. "Seoul reports 15,000 dead from the initial bombardment. New York lost 8,000. Moscow 12,000. Her voice was steady, professional, but Minho could hear the anger beneath it. "Sir, they targeted civilian areas on purpose. Schools, hospitals, residential districts." The captain's jaw tightened. These aliens hadn't been trying to defeat Earth's military. They had been trying to terrorize the population into surrender by murdering innocent people. "Send a message to all Phoenix Squadron pilots," he ordered. "No more mercy runs." Back on Earth, engineer Jiwon Nam was working 18-hour shifts in Dr. Park's expanded laboratory. The quantum fabrication facility had grown from a single room to an entire underground complex in just 2 days. Teams of engineers and physicists worked around the clock, building weapons that pushed the boundaries of known science. "Doctor, we have a problem with the quantum field generators," Jiwon reported, studying a bank of monitoring equipment. "The AudioBook power requirements are enormous. Each fighter needs its own fusion reactor just to operate the quantum drive. Dr. Park looked up from her calculations. Can we miniaturize the reactors? We're trying, but physics has limits, even quantum physics. Then we'll work within those limits. She pulled up a new set of blueprints on her holographic display. What if we don't put quantum drives on fighters? What if we put them on capital ships? The idea was ambitious beyond anything they had attempted. Instead of small fighters that could phase through space-time, they would build massive ships that could carry multiple quantum weapons and enough power generation to sustain extended combat operations. How long would that take? Jiwan asked. With our current resources, 6 months minimum. We don't have 6 months. The aliens are regrouping. Our intelligence suggests they're calling for reinforcements. Dr. Park stared at the blueprints, her mind racing. Then suddenly she smiled. We don't need 6 months. We just need to think differently. She began typing rapidly, modifying the designs. What if we don't build new ships? What if we retrofit existing ones? Meanwhile, Captain Daesung Kang was preparing for humanity's first organized counterattack. His 3 ships, retrofitted destroyers with hastily installed quantum cores, waited in Earth's shadow, invisible to alien sensors. The Veltharian fleet had taken position near Mars, clearly planning their next move. Intelligence reports suggested they were waiting for orders from their home system. Earth's attack on their flagship had been so unexpected that they needed guidance from their superiors. All ships, this is Quantum Leader, Daesung said into his communicator. Our mission is simple. We're going to show these aliens that Earth doesn't just defend itself. We strike back. His ships moved toward the enemy fleet using conventional propulsion, appearing on alien sensors as standard Earth vessels. The Veltharians, still confident in their technological superiority despite the loss of their flagship, moved to intercept. Enemy. Ships approaching, reported Lieutenant Minji Hong from the second ship. They're charging weapons. Let them, Daesung replied. When they fire, activate quantum drives on my mark. The alien ships opened fire, sending streams of plasma toward the approaching human vessels. At that moment, Daesung gave the order. Mark. All 3 human ships vanished from normal spacetime, reappearing scattered throughout the alien formation. Before the Veltharians could react, the humans opened fire with their quantum-enhanced weapons. Unlike the small projectiles used by the Phoenix Squadron fighters, these ships carried quantum torpedoes, weapons that existed in folded space until they reached their targets. The alien shields designed to deflect attacks from normal space were useless against projectiles that approached from other dimensions. One Veltharian ship exploded immediately as quantum torpedoes materialized inside its hull. Another began spinning out of control as its navigation systems were destroyed by weapons that had bypassed every defensive system. Admiral Korvac, commanding the fleet from a temporary flagship, watched in growing horror as his ships were systematically destroyed by an enemy he couldn't fight. How are they doing this? He demanded from his tactical officer. Sir, our computers cannot calculate their positions. They appear to be operating outside normal spacetime. Our weapons cannot target them, and our shields cannot stop their attacks. For the Veltharian Empire, this was unprecedented. In 43 previous conquests, they had never faced an enemy whose technology they couldn't understand. Every species they had encountered used variations of the same basic principles: electromagnetic shields, plasma weapons, faster than light travel through hyperspace. But humans were using something entirely different. They weren't just advanced, they were alien in a way that the Veltharians themselves had never been. Send an immediate message to High Command, Korvac ordered. Tell them we need reinforcements. Tell them these humans are not what our intelligence reports indicated. What should I tell them about human capabilities, sir? Admiral Korvac watched as another of his ships disappeared in a quantum explosion. Tell them the humans have weaponized reality itself. On Earth, the success of the Mars engagement sent waves of hope through humanity's military leadership. But Dr. Park knew this was only the beginning. Her quantum weapons worked because they were unexpected. Once the aliens understood what they were facing, they would adapt. We need to stay ahead of them, she told General Lee during an emergency video conference. Every day we wait, they're studying our technology and figuring out countermeasures. What do you recommend, Doctor? We go on the offensive, not just defending Earth, but taking the fight to them throughout the solar system. Force them to respond to us instead of the other way around. Lieutenant Commander Soo-Young Kim was tasked with leading the expanded quantum fleet. In just 1 week, Dr. Park's teams had managed to outfit 15 ships with quantum drives and weapons. It wasn't enough to match the aliens in raw firepower, but it didn't need to be. Humanity's advantage wasn't in superior numbers or bigger guns. It was in fighting a type of war that the Veltharian Empire had never seen before. All ships, this is Fleet Commander Kim, she announced over the tactical network. Our mission is to eliminate all alien presence in the solar system. We're going to hit them everywhere at once. Jupiter, Saturn, the asteroid belt, anywhere. They think they're safe. The human fleet scattered throughout the solar system, each ship operating independently, but coordinating through quantum communication links that the aliens couldn't intercept. They struck without warning, destroyed their targets, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Within 72 hours, the Veltharian presence in Earth's solar system had been reduced from 7 battleships to scattered survivors hiding in the outer planets. But Dr. Park knew the real war was just beginning. Earth had won the first battle by surprising an overconfident enemy. The destruction of Supreme Admiral Thexus's fleet sent shockwaves through the Veltharian Empire. For the first time in their history, an entire battle group had been wiped out without even seeing their attackers. The news traveled through hyperspace, communication networks, reaching every corner of the galaxy within hours. Intelligence officer Seojin Oh intercepted the alien transmissions from his listening post on the far side of the moon. The panic in Veltharian communications was obvious even through the translation software. They're calling humans the Shadow Death, he reported to General Taehyung Lee. They think we can attack from outside normal time and space. Some of their ships are refusing orders to enter the Sol system. General Lee studied the intercepted messages displayed on his holographic screen. Fear was spreading through the alien empire faster than their fleets could travel. What about their high command? Are they backing down? Just the opposite, sir. Emperor Zelthrax himself is mobilizing the Imperial Guard. They're treating Earth as an existential threat to their entire civilization. The Emperor's response was swift and overwhelming. Instead of sending another fleet, he dispatched the Death's Hand, a massive space station equipped with weapons capable of destroying entire planets. The station was accompanied by the most advanced ships in the Veltharian arsenal, crewed by their elite Imperial Guards. But the Veltharians weren't the only ones who had learned from recent battles. Dr. Yuna Park's latest creation was her masterpiece, the Quantum Storm Generator. Unlike her previous weapons, this device didn't just bend space-time, it shattered it completely. The principle is simple, she explained to Captain Minji Hong, who would be piloting the first ship equipped with the new weapon. Instead of attacking through folded space or displaced time, we attack through broken reality. The target area becomes trapped in a temporal loop, experiencing their destruction over and over until their crews surrender or go insane. Captain Hong studied the weapon specifications with growing amazement and horror. Doctor, this isn't just a weapon. It's a nightmare machine. The aliens chose to make this war about terror when they bombed civilian targets on Earth, Dr. Park replied, her voice cold with controlled anger. Now they'll learn what real terror looks like. The first test of the quantum storm generator came when a Veltharian scouting force approached the asteroid belt. The alien ships were using new stealth technology, trying to observe human movements without being detected. Captain Hong's ship, the Temporal Fury, approached the alien scouts using conventional propulsion to avoid revealing its quantum capabilities. The aliens, confident in their stealth systems, didn't react until it was too late. Activating quantum storm generator, Hong announced to her crew. All hands brace for reality distortion. The weapon fired, and space around the alien ships began to twist. From the outside, observers would have seen the enemy vessels suddenly stop moving, suspended in what looked like a sphere of broken starlight. But inside that sphere, the alien crews experienced something far worse. Time began moving in loops for the trapped ships. They would detect the approaching human vessel, sound battle alarms, prepare to fire weapons, and then find themselves back at the moment of detection, with full memory of what was about to happen. The loop repeated every 30 seconds, with the alien crews growing more panicked each time. After an hour of temporal imprisonment, the alien ship sent desperate surrender signals on every frequency they could broadcast. "We yield to the shadow death," came the transmission in broken English. "Please stop the time trap. We surrender, we surrender." Captain Hong released the temporal lock, allowing the alien ships to escape, but their crews were broken, traumatized. By an hour of reliving the same terrifying 30 seconds over and over, when they reported back to their commanders, their descriptions of human weapons sounded more like ghost stories than military intelligence. Admiral Byung-Go Shin was commanding humanity's largest quantum fleet when the Veltharian Death's Hand entered the solar system. The massive space station was 50 kilometers long and bristled with enough firepower to glass an entire planet. Its escort fleet included 40 of the Empire's most advanced warships. "This is it," Admiral Shin announced to his captains. "They're not here to conquer Earth anymore. They're here to destroy it completely." The Death's Hand positioned itself beyond Mars, well outside the range where previous human attacks had been effective. Its commander, Grand Admiral Vorthak, had studied every battle report from the war. He believed he understood human quantum technology well enough to counter it. "Begin planetary bombardment preparation," he ordered his weapons officers. "Target Earth's major population centers. We will sterilize this world and end the human threat permanently." But Grand Admiral Vorthak had made the same mistake as his predecessors. He was preparing to fight the war that had already been fought, not the war that was about to begin. Captain Woojin Park commanded a squadron of the newest quantum ships, vessels equipped with Dr. Park's most advanced technology. These ships didn't just fold space or displace time, they existed in multiple realities simultaneously, making them effectively impossible to target or even comprehend. "Quantum Squadron, this is Legion Leader," he announced to his pilots. "We're going to demonstrate why humans are the apex predators of this galaxy. Activate multidimensional phase generators." The human ships vanished from normal spacetime, reappearing scattered throughout the alien formation. But they didn't appear as single ships. Each human vessel projected dozens of quantum echoes, identical copies that existed in parallel dimensions, all capable of independent action. From the aliens' perspective, 5 human ships had become 50, then 500, then 5,000. The quantum echoes attacked from every possible angle, in every possible reality, making coordinated defense impossible. Grand Admiral Vorthak watched in horror as his escort fleet was overwhelmed by an enemy that seemed to multiply infinitely. His ship's weapons couldn't distinguish between real targets and quantum echoes, and their targeting computers collapsed under the impossibility of tracking thousands of simultaneously existing attackers. "How many ships are they using?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "Sir, our sensors register between 5 and infinity human vessels depending on which dimensional layer we scan. The readings are mathematically impossible. The Death's Hand itself was too large and heavily armored to be destroyed by conventional quantum weapons. But Dr. Park had anticipated this problem. Captain Hong's ship approached the massive station carrying a special payload, a quantum virus that would spread through the station's computer networks. Unlike normal computer viruses, this one infected reality itself. When it activated, the Yaom station systems began receiving input from multiple timelines simultaneously. Navigation computers couldn't determine the station's position because it was in different locations in different realities. Weapon systems fired at targets that existed only in parallel dimensions. Within minutes, the Death's Hand was paralyzed, its crew unable to operate systems that were receiving contradictory information from multiple versions of reality. "Attention. Veltharian Death's Hand," came the transmission from Captain Hong's ship. "You are now experiencing existence from humanity's perspective. Your systems are operating across multiple timelines and dimensional layers simultaneously. This will continue until you surrender." Grand Admiral Vorthak tried to respond, but his communication systems were sending messages to versions of Captain Hong that existed in other realities. Some received a surrender offer, others heard threats, and still others got combinations of both that made no sense. Lieutenant Commander Soo-Young Kim was leading the final assault on the scattered remains of the Veltharian escort fleet. The aliens who hadn't been destroyed or driven insane by the quantum attacks were fleeing toward the edge of the solar system, hoping to escape to hyperspace. "Don't let them reach the jump point," Kim ordered her squadron. "If even one of them escapes, they'll report our capabilities to the Empire." But she needn't have worried. The fleeing alien ships were being hunted by Captain Soyeon Choi's Phoenix Squadron, now equipped with the latest quantum pursuit systems. The human fighters could follow their targets through hyperspace itself, appearing wherever the aliens tried to hide. "Target acquired," Choi reported as her fighter materialized inside an alien ship's cargo bay. Deploying surrender enhancement device. The device was Dr. Park's most psychologically effective weapon, a quantum projector that forced the target to experience their own defeat from every possible perspective simultaneously. The alien crew saw themselves being captured in millions of different ways across millions of different realities, each outcome ending in their total defeat. Most crews surrendered immediately rather than experience the infinite variations of their own failure. Within 24 hours, the entire Veltharian invasion force had been destroyed, captured, or driven insane. The Death's Hand, still trapped in multidimensional confusion, was boarded by human Marines who found the crew huddled in their quarters, too terrified to operate their own ship. But the most significant victory was psychological. Throughout the galaxy, word spread that the Veltharian Empire's most powerful weapons had been defeated by a single human fleet. 6 months had passed since the fall of the Veltharian Empire, and President Jaewon Ko stood before the newly formed Galactic Council in what had once been Emperor Zelthrax's throne room. The ornate chamber had been transformed from a monument to conquest into a symbol of cooperation, with representatives from over 200 liberated worlds seated together as equals. Today marks not the end of one empire, but the beginning of something that has never existed in galactic history, President Ko announced to the Assembly. A government based on choice rather than force, on cooperation rather than conquest. Admiral Yoonji Choi commanded humanity's quantum defense fleet from the bridge of the rebuilt Earth station, now orbiting the former imperial capital. Her ships patrolled the galaxy not as conquerors but as peacekeepers, helping former imperial worlds transition from oppression to self-governance. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from the Outer Rim," her communications officer, Lieutenant Seo-jun Oh, reported. "The Keldorian refugees have successfully established their new colony. They're requesting assistance with terraforming equipment." "Approved," Admiral Choi replied. "Send the engineering vessels from Quantum Wing 7 and transmit our congratulations to the new colony." The transformation of galactic civilization had been swift but not without challenges. Dr. Yuna Park found herself at the center of the greatest scientific revolution in galactic history, as species that had been suppressed for centuries began sharing their knowledge and innovations. "The collaborative research stations are exceeding all expectations," she reported to the Galactic Science Council during their weekly meeting. "The combination of human quantum technology with Altarian bioengineering and Zenthari mathematics has led to breakthroughs we couldn't have imagined working alone." Engineer Jiwon Nam was overseeing the construction of humanity's first intergalactic research station, a massive facility that would serve as a hub for peaceful exploration beyond their home galaxy. The station incorporated technologies from dozens of species, creating something that was truly greater than the sum of its parts. "Dr. Park, the quantum core is stable and the multi-dimensional laboratories are operational," he reported. "We're ready to begin research into peaceful applications of reality manipulation technology." The former imperial worlds had become eager partners in humanity's vision of galactic cooperation. Captain Woo-jin Park, now serving as a cultural liaison officer, worked with former imperial citizens to help them adjust to life without the rigid hierarchies that had defined their society for generations. "It's remarkable," he observed during a meeting with former Veltharian military officers, who had volunteered to help with reconstruction efforts. Once they understood what their empire had really been doing, most imperial citizens were eager to make amends. One of those former officers was Admiral Vextar, who had become one of humanity's most effective allies in reaching out to scattered Imperial forces still hiding throughout the galaxy. Captain Park, we've received surrender offers from 3 more Imperial remnant fleets, Vextar reported. They're requesting permission to join the reconstruction efforts. Many of their crews want to help rebuild the worlds their empire destroyed. The rehabilitation programs developed by Dr. Park had been remarkably successful. Former Imperial soldiers who experienced the quantum empathy treatments became some of the most dedicated workers in the galactic reconstruction effort, driven by a genuine desire to atone for their past actions. Captain Soyeon Choi was leading one of the most important missions of the post-war period, the establishment of the Galactic Peace Corps. Her organization was composed of volunteers from every liberated world, working together to prevent conflicts and help developing civilizations. We've completed the peaceful contact protocols for the newly discovered species in the Andromeda approach, she reported to the Galactic Council. They've agreed to cultural exchange programs and seem very interested in our cooperative model of interspecies relations. Lieutenant Commander Soo-Young Kim had taken on the task of training the next generation of peacekeepers, teaching them not just military tactics, but the principles of conflict resolution and cultural sensitivity that had made humanity's liberation campaign so successful. The key lesson, she told her diverse class of cadets from 20 different species, is that true strength comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when not to use that ability. Captain Min-Ho Kim had returned to Luna base, but now it served as headquarters for the Solar Defense Corps rather than Earth's last line of defense. From his office, he could see Earth spinning peacefully in space, its cities rebuilt, and its people thriving in the new galactic age. Admiral, we're receiving the daily reports from the outer sectors, Lieutenant Hyejin Yoon informed him. All former Imperial territories report stable governments and peaceful transitions. No conflicts requiring intervention. And the former Emperor? Captain Kim asked. Emperor Zelthrax continues his work with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Today he's testifying about Imperial policies on the former slave worlds. His testimony is helping identify hidden Imperial installations that still need to be discovered and shut down. The transformation of Emperor Zelthrax had been one of the most dramatic examples of Dr. Park's rehabilitation technology. The former tyrant now dedicated his remaining years to documenting the crimes of his empire and helping heal the damage it had caused. Dr. Park herself was working on her most ambitious project yet, a galactic communication network that would allow instant coordination between worlds while being impossible to use for oppression or surveillance. The quantum entanglement relays will create a truly free information network, she explained to a gathering of scientists from across the galaxy. Every world will have access to the same knowledge, the same opportunities for growth and development. The network represented everything the new galactic order stood for: open cooperation, shared knowledge, and the belief that diversity made civilization stronger rather than weaker. General Tai-Hyung Lee had transitioned from military commander to civilian administrator, overseeing the peaceful integration of former Imperial territories into the new galactic government. The reports from all sectors are encouraging, he told President Ko during their monthly briefing. Former Imperial worlds are not just stable, they're thriving. Agricultural production is up, technological development is accelerating, and, most importantly, no world has experienced internal conflict in over 3 months. What about the outer territories? President Ko asked. Any signs of new threats emerging? Just the opposite. 3 previously unknown civilizations have requested membership in the Galactic Cooperative after learning about our policies. They want to be part of something that values peace over conquest. The success of the human model of governance had spread beyond the former Imperial territories. Species that had never been part of any galactic government were voluntarily joining the cooperative, attracted by its emphasis on mutual benefit and peaceful development. Captain Daisung Kang was exploring those outer territories, leading scientific expeditions to study newly discovered worlds and make contact with civilizations that had remained hidden during the Imperial era. The galaxy is so much larger and more diverse than the Empire ever admitted, he reported from his exploration vessel at the edge of known space. We've discovered 17 new species in the past month alone, each with their own unique contributions to galactic knowledge. As the first anniversary of Earth's liberation approached, Captain Minji Hong was preparing for a special ceremony at the rebuilt memorial in Seoul, where the alien bombardment had first struck. The memorial now honored not just the human victims of imperial aggression, but all beings throughout the galaxy who had suffered under tyranny. The memorial will be more than a remembrance, she explained to the planning committee. It will be a promise that such suffering will never be allowed to happen again. The ceremony would be attended by representatives from every world in the Galactic Cooperative, including former Imperial citizens who wanted to pay their respects to those who had died for the freedom they now enjoyed. Admiral Korvac, the original Veltharian commander who had called humans adorable, attended the ceremony as part of his own journey of understanding and atonement. He had spent months working in refugee camps and reconstruction sites, trying to comprehend the magnitude of what his empire had done. "I thought we were superior because we could destroy," he said in his address to the memorial gathering. "The humans taught us that true superiority comes from the ability to heal, to forgive, and to build something better from the ashes of what came before." His words were broadcast throughout the galaxy, part of the ongoing education process that helped former Imperial citizens understand their new role in a cooperative galactic civilization. As the anniversary ceremony concluded, President Ko stood once again before the assembled representatives of the galaxy's free worlds. "1 year ago they called us adorable," he said, his words carrying across the galaxy through the quantum communication network. "They thought our compassion was weakness, our desire for peace was naivety, our refusal to conquer was evidence of inferiority." He paused, looking out at the diverse assembly of beings who had come together to